I always had that desire to do well, to be self-reliant, to be financially independent, to do and make do of something of my career. So that spirit was always there. That desire to do well was always there. I didn't know at that time what what will I do, and I didn't even know at those times people really know there is this corporate organization you work in and all. I mean, just wanted to work. So with that sort of jazba, I think I started my career. I started very small at a very executive level. You know, then that worked because I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to bring in me in everything I did. That how can I add value as an individual while there are 20 people doing a similar stuff? And the normally at that level you work on the defined processes. You're given. It became my style to constantly question the status quo and find out better ways of doing things, and how can we automate things, how can we digitize things. So that became a way of working, which was another you know good point, I would say, good thing which really helped me grow in the career, the goals of my life. And I believe that life should be led or lived in wholesome. It should be in totality. It can't be just work. Sometimes people make work their life. That's not it is.
True.
So then I wrote my personal goals, my health goals, my family goals, my spiritual goals, and then my work goals,
Of course.
which was one of the dimensions, not really the whole circle of it.
True.
And then I put real measurables to that how will I measure that I've achieved that. We were losing women in the workspace from especially the sales kind of domains. So I was a diversity champion always. We call it inclusive forums. I used to lead that for my geography, and I would have one-on-one chat with those women that what is it, why do you think you don't want to work in sales? You're doing so well. Your teams like your distributors say that you really take care of their requirements, their commissions are happening on time, everything. Why do you want to step out of this role? Don't you want to make a career in that? So they, that came out with a very simple that you would not even realize. They said, going in field means using public toilets. And as women, when we step out and we in the morning and we have to come back in the evening, we are generally accompanied by a distributor guy or a retailer or a sales guy. And with amongst all those men, it's very difficult for us to relieve our.
Right, ma'am, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's very humble of you to, give us time on a Sunday morning and invite us over, have a chat with us. But it's really overwhelming to speak with someone like you who has so much experience, so much to share, and not only just in one field of life, but and as you say, if you really want to have that kind of winner's mentality, we speak about this on the podcast, but you need to be good at all the spheres of your life. So, ma'am, first of all, thank you so much for being on the
No,
podcast.
no, thank you so much for having me. I think it's a pleasure, absolute pleasure. So thank you. Thanks to you.
You're someone, I believe, and I was really looking to forward to this podcast because I have so many questions for you. Because I just started a new
You're
job.
scaring me.
I
All
don't
right.
think we can really fit that in a 40-50 minute podcast. But then, so I've been talking to a lot of people from the corporates, who have this kind of Zoom fatigue. There's a new term called Zoom fatigue. And as we were speaking before the podcast as well, do you know how everyone is behind a screen now, how this kind of format is so much refreshing. So
Yeah.
just want to understand how, what's the state of well-being during these work from home? Because I just wanted a perspective from you, and how have you been handling it? Because I know you're a person who is, who I am assuming, but from what you have sent me, from what I've read about you, there's someone who takes care of their well-being a lot. And from I've been around your house, and I can understand what kind of person you are. Your house tells a lot about you. So it tells that you are someone who really is takes care of yourself, your well-being. So just want to understand how it is in during the pandemic.
Okay. I think it's a very good question and very relevant for the times. Okay. So it was, nobody was prepared for the pandemic, I think. It just it just came upon us.
It just happened.
And yeah, it was, we didn't know how to handle this new way of life. I think everybody, in every individual, old or young or children, they found themselves, suddenly caught up in something like a whirlwind that they don't know how to swim out through. So we learned along the way. And I think what kept me, personally speaking, I think it has done some goods and it has done some, bads in a way. That there, it was a time for a lot of introspection.
True.
Suddenly, so many things started looking irrelevant. That this kind of din and the crowd we create around ourselves, they are so meaningless. So I think it was an epiphany. It was a good learning that I had, and I'm sure a lot of people had. And I wrote a poem also that we never thought like that. We had become those typical in this society of consumerism. You're going
Oh,
buying things, just
absolutely.
loading things, and
Yes.
suddenly you feel that how much do we really need? I mean, sitting at home and working, you didn't require 2/3 of your wardrobe,
True.
right? Suddenly, you realize that you could enjoy your house much more than I could ever do that, because with my kind of a job, working from 9 to 6 is never six. Hours
Always
stretch
goes
up to
beyond.
7 and beyond, because I'm a senior position, so you can't just take it so lightly, and I'm sure nobody does. So I never enjoyed how it was sitting in a balcony and taking a video call and walking in the garden while talking to a phone. So these were some of the really positive things that happened, and we started appreciating our life so much more than before. I mean, we used to crib a lot. Normally you tend to, get really into a negative thing. That's not good. This is not good. But I think this really hit us in a manner that it forced us to introspect and learn the positive things around us, the blessings that we have in life. That was a good part. But I think on the other side, because you're not going to work every day, your connect with people comes down. Your
True.
personal connect comes down. We haven't met our near and dear ones for a very long time. Even to go to my parents' house, who are just very close by, you're constantly worried that I don't go and infect them. And at their age, we don't want to put them into this kind
There's
of
always that fear.
stress. Yeah, that fear is there. So you're not meeting, and there is a lot of physical connect, really brings a lot of positive energy. You don't really touch anybody, you don't really hug anybody in your family, near dear ones, you don't meet your friends, you don't meet and sit with your colleagues like in office. You just sit and chat and bring that energy together. We were so used to of having those personal kind of meetings wherein you sit, you talk personal things to begin, and then you get down to the agenda. Suddenly everything came to a standstill, and we didn't know how to really bring in that element through a digital platform. We were only calling when there was work, right? You were only having a work related VC, but in between those little informal corridor conversations that would happen, that would
The
de-stress
water
people,
cooler conversation.
water cooler conversations, they stopped happening. And I think then slowly, I think as organizations have really realized that was an important element. So they brought in a lot of good things about it. That spend time to have personal calls with your colleagues. Maybe just have one meeting only in which you talk other than work,
Yes.
right? Anything other than work, just to connect with them.
Yes.
Be accessible personally if they have anything to talk about, anything to share about, and be more considerate. What happens, because we are in habit of expecting your team to be up and about at 9:30, logged in at their place, wherever they are, and we had that fear always. Work from home means chutti. That used to be the concept, because nobody worked from home.
Yes.
So we always thought work from home ka matlab hai thoda chill out karega, koi kaam karega. But when everything is work from home, you can't chill out every day.
True.
So the first instinct comes to you is that how do I ensure everybody works? They don't just sit at home and just chill out, because that will bring down the productivity, that will bring down the efficiency, and how you perform in the market. But then I realized that the life has changed. Especially, there are a lot of young mothers and women, even men, because people started helping each other at home. There were no maids coming to the house, and there were no domestic help at home. So people had to do things on their own and manage your household. And you don't have maids, so you do that work also yourself. and you at 9:30 you should be sitting at your workstation and logged in for work. It is unfair.
Oh.
It's criminal. And then we made certain rules that before 10 o'clock you will not keep any meetings, right? And at lunchtime, give a break. Don't have
Right,
meetings
right.
and calls unnecessarily to bother employees. And maybe after some time you have to wind up. You can't stretch your meetings beyond some time. Then we drove a campaign how we can bring equality at work in terms of how to help your spouses at home. We encourage male managers to lend a hand of help at home because their wives had all the burden managing
Yes,
children.
yes.
Children are also studying from home. Like
And
so,
that's the
so
biggest
when you're
challenge.
when you're sitting at home, kids are kids. They will say, "Mommy, why don't you make this for me? Why don't you? I want to eat this." And the poor lady is working and then managing kids while in the normal scenario they were going to school and coming back at 3 o'clock. So
Yes,
that
yes.
there was no such botheration. So we encourage people to put their videos that their men are helping at home. They are washing utensils. They're mopping the floor. And even the senior most would do that. The directors of the organizations made those videos and shared that to say that it's all right. It's okay to help at home. So I think all of these things as an organization, as human beings, as persons, we learned along the way. We realized, but we made quick corrections and amends to the situation. And for my personal well-being, I think one good thing has happened that I spend more time on exercising.
Wow.
I spend more time on my health than I could earlier because to measure performance, to keep a track of performance so that people also know they are being watched. They also know that their performance is made visible
There's accountability.
and there's accountability.
Yes.
And so we have developed a lot of ways. I think it's a new and good learning.
I'm sure you're
Yeah.
from one of the best organizations in India, in world, as I would say. So just want to, because I'm very curious about it, how does one climb the ladder? Because from my limited experience, I think it's a very you require very different kind of mindset to climb the corporate ladder, right? And I think a lot of people, especially for people who watch our show, they are in their early 20s or there are few teenagers as well.
Sure.
So I just want for them as well that how do you, let's say, a management trainee or someone who's just joined a company as a fresher, what kind of mindset should they join with so that so that it's easier for them to climb the ladder? So what would be the mindset, and what did you like, how was your journey like?
Uh, it's been a long journey. How to summarize? So I first of all I don't know. People outside the corporate world think corporate is something really really a different kind of an animal. I think the rules are same, the ways are same in any organization or any business setup. If you guys are an entrepreneur, if you are having your own work, you'll have to have certain similar attributes in order to
Right,
grow.
right, right.
And I think corporate ladder I consider sometimes is a very negative word. So I would say evolving, growing career in the corporate setup or in any organization. Uh, so there is no clear recipe, Manik.
Of
I would
course, of
say I think different things work for different people. I can only share what worked for me. Maybe it makes sense to some of the people. So like I said, I come from a small town.
Yes.
So, and I always had that desire to do well, to be self-reliant, to be financially independent, to do and make do of something of my career. So that spirit was always there. That desire to do well was always there. I didn't know at that time what what will I do, and I didn't even know at those times people really know there is this corporate organization you work in and all. I mean, just wanted to work. So with that sort of jazba, I think I started my career. I started very small at a very executive level. Then that worked because I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to bring in me in everything I did. That how can I add value as an individual while there are 20 people doing a similar stuff? And the normally at that level you work on the defined processes. You're given
Yes,
in
yes.
operations, you're given a set of SOPs to follow.
Okay.
You just simply do that, right? And but I always felt that how can I make it better? So that is one thing that really helped me grow and learn. I think I was a bit lazy doing some clerical jobs and repetitive jobs.
I get
So
that.
so
I
that
get
worked
that.
for me because I would
Creating
question
reports and
that
documenting
yeah,
all
that
of
would
that
really
stuff.
make me question, the small things like, when customers complain, a request will go, not complain, if some service has to be given to a customer, a request will go in the system and there's a specific tag. In that turnaround time, if the thing is not happened, customers would complain, and we will take that complaint and we will log in a complaint in a system, and it will go to the technical department, IT department, they will solve. So I hate it as how boring that can get. What can we do? So I would go catch hold of an IT guy and I will say, what do I do in the system that we resolve the complaint ourselves rather than logging that complaint and sending it to you? He said, you have to refresh system sometimes. The system, there's some blip in the system, that issue gets somewhere, caught up in the system and it doesn't get processed. But when you refresh, it kind of happens. And these are like 0.04 kind of error. So why do you worry?
Okay.
I said, no, for me, all those 0.40 or 04 customers come to us.
Yes, yes.
So what can we do? Why don't you give us the rights of that refresh? We will do ourselves.
Wow.
So all right, makes sense.
It does, it does.
Yeah, so we got the rights. And then on front line, we were making our own refresh. We didn't have to log in complete. So I was happy. Less work, less of that kind of work. Then I felt that why do we have to even refresh it? So I would catch hold of the IT person again. I used to make these trips to these people in technology team. It was very interesting. So I would say that why your system can't do an auto refresh? So if your system has a timestamp that this is the time request has been put in the system and it should be clear in say 5 minutes. If it hasn't happened, the system should have a way to catch it, alert. So 10 requests gone, 10 requests come out. But if it is 9, it means one request is somewhere got caught.
Pending.
So why doesn't your system catch it and send an auto refresh? Said, क्या यार मतलब तू पीछे पड़ी रहती है सारा time you come out with some crazy ideas. Now, if you will hear, you will say, what are you talking? It's such a, we've done that, dusted that, done and dusted that. It's a very common thing. But when I started my career, these were the things nobody spoke and nobody thought at our levels. Like, they say you're customer service people, you don't know what technology is, tumhe kya pata, these are not very complex things. So I was very, persistent. If I had some belief that we can do things better in a way, so I was very persistent. If they won't listen, I'll go to a manager. I will tell them why don't we do. I was a bad person, I think, difficult to deal with. But that really made things happen. That worked for me. That gave me confidence, and it became my style to constantly question the status quo and find out better ways of doing things. And how can we automate things? How can we digitize things? So that became a way of working, which was another, you know, good point, I would say, good thing which really helped me grow in the career. People saw that streak in me and they appreciated that. Then I think one more thing is that nothing can replace honest, sincere hard work.
True.
People talk about a lot of smart work as being the term. I don't know what smart work is. I really don't know. Those who believe and do it, it must be working for them.
I think smart work is hard work plus hit and trial. Then you get used to it. Okay, this does not work. I'll still hard work.
Yeah.
But then I know how to do it.
Absolutely. No, yeah. So it's a different thing. Maybe it's an added element to hard work. But
Maybe.
hard work is the bedrock. And I worked my way up. Like you refer to corporate ladder. So on every rung, I have really worked hard. I didn't believe in any shortcuts. I thought it was fair to spend reasonable amount of time on every rung of the ladder to get a grip of that role, to understand it thoroughly, so that you do justice to it, and then you move on to next and move on to next. So that really worked for me. Then never stop learning. That's one thing. Always keep your eyes and ears open. And learning can be, it doesn't have to be always formal. It can be formal as well as informal. I've been very fortunate of being part of very good organizations, and I've worked with really great leaders and really charismatic leaders. So I always try to learn from them. I always try to imbibe some of their good qualities. Somebody taught me time management. Somebody must have taught me how to do the positive and constructive engagement with others or a teamwork. So I would learn from everybody. And I kept adding that to myself along the way. So I think my one advice to the youngsters is that sometimes, we tend to believe I come from a very good B school, I know it all, and these are older generation, I know the new, what's happening in the world, which is true, our children, sometimes I feel they know so much better, they are so much more aware, and they're more enterprising, like you guys are, you're very enterprising. But there are certain things which come from experience, and there are some things which are tried and tested, and they have made those people reach a certain level in the organization. There must be something behind it. So if you really keep your mind open and you try to learn from them, it really helps you grow and evolve as a professional, as a person. So I think I never wanted to stop learning and say, hey, I've arrived in life. Even today I'm learning. And why only from seniors? I learn from my juniors. You can't say that, I can't learn anything from my juniors, they should be looking up to me. There are so many things that they know sometimes better than you, so you learn. So learning should never stop. And one last thing I would say, do the right thing, because in corporate there are different kind of cultures. There are people who would do different things to you, they would compete with you, but and it sometimes tempts you to do certain things that you also want to get even with people. Yeah, so because I'm not a saint, I'm a human being, but I think I'm not good at that. I soon realized that it's not what I am good at, so I rather do the right thing. So I don't want to bring the spirituality angle to it, but it has worked for me. Or whatever form, sometimes, whoever deserves what, you should ensure they get it. Not because how their equation is with you or something. What is right for the organization? Because you're working for that organization, and that organization is paying you salary. And what is good for those individuals and for the team, you should do those things.
Beautiful. One thing that really touched me was always questioning the status quo. So I was recently watching a documentary of Michael Jordan. It's called The Last Game. And he had that kind of mentality that not only on the ground, not only in the field, but I want to be best at everything that I do. He'd play golf. He has played professional baseball. He would intentionally pick fights with people so that it lights up a fire in him, so that he can get back to them in the court. He would pick up fights with them in the restaurant, and then channelize all that anger in the basketball match. And that worked for him. But that he had that kind of mentality where he wants to be best at everything. And always questioning how can we make it better. And something that you said, I have arrived. He always had, okay, now I'm here. How can I take it one step further? How can I make it better? So just want to understand, outside the office, outside the corporate world, are you that kind of person who always challenge? Because I think there are very less people who challenge the status quo, and there are even lesser people who do something about it. And I believe, because the way that you've spoken, I like the experience that you spoke out of, I think you are that kind of person. So just want to understand, outside the office, when you step out of it, in your personal life, are you that kind of person who, is that, okay, how can I make it better? How I am here, where do I go from here? Not being complacent with whatever you have.
So true, actually. And I would give credit to my work, my career, for that. That forced me to think like that even outside the work setup. I remember there was this workshop we were going through. It was about, every year corporates have this setup of doing, there's a format that every year in the beginning of the year they do a kickoff workshop in which we create the strategy for the year. Right. So we will get the managers and the seniors in one room in some exotic location, and you do those 2 days kind of a workshop, brainstorming, thinking, how did we do last year and how can we make it better? What is relevant now? What should we start doing, and things like that.
I call it dreaming process.
Yeah. Okay. So that's very, I think, a standard format for all the organizations, corporates, all the more. So we were part of that workshop, and we came out with that, you create a mission, vision and everything, and come out really charged and excited that, this year we're going to really kill it, crack it and do great in the market and all of that. And on the way back, when I was driving home, I was thinking that It's nice, but imagine, do we do something similar for our own lives?
Wow.
Our life is the most important project that we have at hand. It's the most valuable project that we have at hand. Do we really have goals for our life? Do
Do
we
you have
have a
KPIs?
mission? Yeah. Do we have an overarching vision for our life that from 5 years from now, what do I want to do with myself? 10 years from now, how I want my life to look like? And outside my work, who am I? At work, I would walk with pride that my chair means I'm a VP, or it's something. But the moment I step out of my work, my office, I'm a mother, I'm a parent, I'm a spouse, I'm a daughter, I'm a daughter-in-law, I'm a friend, I'm a kin relative. Uh, so have I worked on that aspect of my life to make me a person that these important stakeholders of my life also value me as much and see that I'm really adding value to their life? So that was kind of a revelation at that moment. And I seriously, it looks very childish now, but I really seriously got down to it. And I sat, one day and started writing the goals of my life. And I believe that life should be led or lived in wholesome. It should be in totality. It can't be just work. Sometimes people make work their life. That's not it is.
Yeah.
So then I wrote my personal goals, my health goals, my family goals, my spiritual goals, and then my work goals,
Of course.
which was one of the dimension, not really the whole circle of it.
Yeah.
And then I put real measurables to that how will I measure that I've achieved this goal? You can say, all right, I'll do ABC, but has it made me the greatest, or a good mother, or a good parent? How will I judge that? So I thought whatever came to my mind to write down the measurables also. And that kind of work that gave me a direction in life, and that has made me a person who is applying those skills of problem solving at home also.
Okay. Okay.
Not getting really jittery or anxious in a situation at home. Sometimes personally you have taking control of the situation calmly and trying to solve the problem more than just getting little hyper about
Yeah,
it.
thinking if I can handle the IT guys, then I can do anything.
I can do anything. That's a good one. I remember going forward to. And like I said, I feel very passionately about the gender equality. So even in my personal domain, I take care that I keep the messaging right. Whether it is my sons, I've got two sons, and I'm very proud that I don't know what all I must have done unknowingly, consciously or unconsciously. They have grown into very fine young boys, and they are very respectful of females, and they believe in equality as much. They both are great cooks, better cooks than I am. I know I'm not really good, but they are so natural, and so they don't feel it's a girl's job or it's a women's job. So they do it at home, and so maybe somewhere it has rubbed off in my personal life doing these things.
I have a very personal question, and I like if you're just okay answering it. So I was reading a book called Option B by Sheryl Sandberg.
Yeah.
She used to be
Facebook.
CEO at Facebook. Yes.
Facebook, yeah.
So the book spoke about so her husband passed away and how she has been coping, but it also touched
Yeah.
on a lot of like the reality, especially with third world countries like India or even some Middle Eastern countries. And then she had all these statistics on how, for example, if there's a job, okay, there's a JD. If there are 10 points in a JD, if let's say a male person goes through the JD and see, okay, 6 I can do, 4 maybe I can't do, I still apply for the job. But for a woman, she'll have to see, okay, do I match all of it, or do I the bare minimum is I have to match 9 out of 10. Can't go lesser than that. It has to be 9, or even the whole JD I have to do. And when for women, when they get to work, they have to they have this trend, because that's how the kind of stigma and kind of society has built, that they have to really prove themselves at work. Like, if I have gotten a job, I have, no matter what, I have to be really good at it to justify my position here. right? So just wanted to understand, because you have had a very celebrated, very long career in the corporate, and you have very, like, you have done a lot, and you have also been very considerate towards gender equality, and I'm sure you also work towards more women leaders. So just want to understand, did you ever have to, like, prove yourself, your position? I think everyone has to, but I think women have to try a lot harder. So just want to understand, how was it for you? And I hope it's okay if you want to answer.
No, no, absolutely fine. So it is, to some extent. Now things have changed a lot, Manik. Um, things were very different when I started my career. That was like some 25 plus years back. There was not so much of sensitivity towards um, understanding and empathizing with women coming to work. Um, it was expected that if you are a woman, it's your responsibility to manage everything in life and then come to work and do justice to it, irrespective of your circumstances. Now, the organizations have become far more receptive of building and nurturing female careers,
Yes,
right? So
yes.
the policies have changed. At our times, I remember I went for my maternity leave, and which was 12 weeks, given at that time
Oh
only.
my God.
And the sometimes, if women were not so fortunate, if they would start feeling some health related issues, they would have to start that leave maybe 1 or 2 weeks prior to that, so they would lose those 2 weeks of post maternity.
True,
You
true.
understand, they
Yes,
had to
yes.
leave their little child and come back to work, and not everybody had support at home. So there were a lot of women who would drop careers, who would drop their jobs, they will drop outs, and I mean, I don't know if it was possible for them to ever start, or they will change their lines from a corporate, they will go to a teaching line and things like that. So they would go to a little stereotype streamline, or stereotype careers, which was so called meant for women. So it wasn't easy. And within those 12 weeks also, I went back in 10 weeks only, because I was constantly worried that if I don't join back work, maybe I'd be replaced. I may not be welcome back at work, because they will say, oh, you lost a lot out. We have moved ahead in life. There's so much more happened, and you've not contributed. They might spoil my appraisal.
Yes.
Yeah. So I know things were tough, and women always felt that they had to prove more, because they start the journey with a slight doubt, maybe because of the upbringing we used to have at our times, where it was constantly fed into the minds that these kind of hard jobs are more for men, because they're more capable and eligible for these kind of jobs. Women perhaps have to really learn really hard to reach up to that level, and hence they always had that feeling they have to prove themselves. They have to really over do something to prove that I'm as good, or I'm close by. And that's true what you said, that women feel that I have to qualify for all 9 and 10 points in order to apply for a job, whereas men are like, even if I know 5, it's good, I can do it. It happens.
It does.
It happens. But I don't know if maybe it's a wiring that we have, or the conditioning that we have
Obviously, I
for a
think it's
very long
conditioning.
time.
Yes.
Yeah, but thankfully things are getting more even now. Though there is so much, this really long journey we have to traverse on this cause and agenda, as a world, not only India, I would say, or a particular organization. As a world, we have to traverse a long journey on that. But things are so much better. We've got so much more women-friendly policies, maternity policies for returning mothers, how to protect their careers.
Yes, yes.
So we've done a lot. I think I'm really proud to be part of the such inclusivity councils, wherein I was adding value from my perspective, and whole lot of other women. That right now we are in an organization which really respects women careers, which really takes care of those stages of a woman's career, where they will have certain other things which will become their priority. But that doesn't mean we should lose them from the workspace. So we do a lot of things. I was telling you that thing before this chat started, that we realized that we were losing women in the in the workspace from especially the sales kind of domains. So I was a diversity champion always. We call it inclusive forums. I used to lead that for my geography, and I would have one-on-one chat with those women that what is it, why do you think you don't want to work in sales? You're doing so well. Your teams like you, your distributors say that you really take care of their requirements, their commissions are happening on time, everything. Why do you, why do you want to step out of this role? Don't you want to make a career in that? So they, that came out with a very simple that you would not even realize. They said, going in field means using public toilets. And as women, when we step out and we in the morning and we have to come back in the evening, we are generally accompanied by a distributor guy or a retailer or a sales guy. And amongst all those men, it's very difficult for us to relieve ourselves.
Yes.
And it becomes very difficult. And then one of them told me that what, I don't drink water the whole day. I remain dehydrated because if I drink more water, I'll have to use more washroom, and what will I do? And it was such a heart rending thing, because I was not into that role. And for us to be in the office to have that kind of a realization, it really touched me. And then, as an organization, we came up with this initiative of making sure that every distributor makes a washroom which is clean and hygienic and safe and secure.
Wow.
With a proper latch in and around his shop, to make sure that whether it is our team of sales team, female teams, which they venture out in the market, they get a decent place, or if they employ some female staff in their distributor shops and in their markets, they also have a decent place. I don't think any organization was thinking at those times like this. So we did that, and it was really appreciated, and it was really Project Comfort we gave it. I remember the name. So it was really, I think it got a lot of awards also in different forums nationally, for taking out this kind of an initiative and thinking in that manner. It helped us bring a lot of females into the sales.
When a person speaks about something, you can figure out if they are really speaking out of heart, or again it's just another thing that they're saying. And the way you spoke about Project Comfort, and you had that kind of passion, and a person can pick on that. I could really understand that you're very passionate about more women led roles and creating that kind of culture in your workspace.
Culture and environment.
Absolutely. I think so. When we are talking about pink toilets as well, we are creating. So, when we think, okay, where do we want to take this? We speak about that how these toilets can be first hub of community awareness. A lot of our toilets are in the places that, sort of slum areas. There's one in RK how we can spread some awareness about, let's say, COVID or menstrual health and hygiene or TB.
Very
or
important.
and we don't only limit it to usage of toilet, but how a woman can just come to a pink toilet and share her just vent it out with the staff or anyone, how they can be secure spaces, not only in terms of basically redefining the whole concept of a toilet.
Yeah.
As I said, we are planning to set a library and all of these things. So it's
which
really
is amazing, and you told me, I'm very impressed.
Yes. So I think as you spoke about how you were losing women at your workplace. So right now, we get a lot of women leaders on our podcast, and you rightly said, I have known a lot of women now, they're at a really good position, who did not, although they were up for promotion, they did not take that promotion because they did not have that kind of bandwidth to take more responsibilities.
That's
because
true.
there's some things that they had to take care at home, and then there was other responsibilities as well.
Yeah.
And that I'm glad it has changed, but they are, because my sister works with the public company, with the government company. He's at a good position now. Her son is 4 years old. Okay. She has a house help as well, but then there are times when she had to, his name is Kartike, she had to take him to the office. And now my parents have come down to her place, and just to take care of her son. She talks to me and she tells how difficult it is. She thinks of going on a sabbatical as well. But then she just says, okay, what if, as you said, what if they find a replacement?
Yeah, yeah.
What if, when I go back, I'm not able to prove my worth? So, and
That,
what if,
fear is constantly
yes,
there.
yes. What if, because she has always been overachiever, always been the star, always got promotion, like the first one to get promotion.
Yeah.
She was the youngest, I think, scale 3 officer in Rajasthan back in the day. So, all that, but still that had that kind of
That fear was
fear.
always
Okay, what
there.
if I go on a sabbatical and what if they don't value me anymore?
True, true.
So, there are a lot of examples around us as well, even now. So just want to understand how you, like, as a person, do you plan to mentor more women leaders, or do you already do it? Because the way you were speaking, I know you are an innovator. Like, when you spoke about how there's some process that required IT and then you had to change that. So you're always someone who questions the status quo. So on your personal basis, do you have these, like, do you plan to do something for women leadership or something, like, something similar?
I of course plan to, and I do it in my personal capacity even now. At work, definitely, because there are being in customer experience. I'm having customer experience, so that by virtue of the role, we have a lot of females in my department. So I've managed diversity in my teams to a great extent. So for me, it was really important to understand their challenges and what I've gone through, they don't go through, and make the right amount of organization where I felt it was required to help them support and build their careers. Now, you won't believe, I mean, the interesting thing is that in our organization, you can't touch the career of a returning mother. You can't. Even if you're downsizing, you're letting go of people, you are rating people, even if that person has, and the maternity leaves are as good as 6 months, and then you are allowed to work on flexi hours after that.
Wow.
And sabbaticals are allowed. But especially the returning mothers, because we understand that suddenly the responsibility on that individual has multiplied.
Absolutely.
Yeah. From an individual, you are now looking after, you're a parent, you're looking after a newborn child, or you're a new mother. So it is very difficult to for them to manage things, right? So I definitely support them. I counsel them, especially in my team when they come. They will share that I'm on the family way, and I will it do something to my career. So so as a manager, we have that heart to heart conversation. We arrange very healthy handovers, and we give them the assurance, don't worry, take your time. When you come back, this organization is going to look after you and respect your role, right?
Beautiful. Wow.
So it is not only me. I think every leader in this organization now has understood that it is an important thing to do, and we do it. And we do so many programs to promote that thought process across the every part of the organization, from senior to junior level, that every manager understands that. And personally also, maybe it's my demeanor somehow. I have a lot of friends, other girls and females in the family or in the friend circle. They would come and seek advice, and how do I manage my work, how do I balance my home
You're a
and
Masi
work?
and a Bua to someone
Yeah,
people
absolutely.
come to you,
That
okay,
some younger ladies staying around and they have started their career, or they're already in the middle of the career, they come, and so I counsel them, I sit with them, I tell them from my experience how it is important to build an eco structure around you, so that you can get help for your children, so that you don't feel guilty when you're working, and how can you ensure your career is not impacted.
I do. So, and this was very personal to me because I'd seen my sister not taking care of her own health after she had a baby. She had a baby and then she had a job. I know my mother who, like, after my sister was born and I was born, her whole world was about us. She didn't take care of her own health. So I was in Nepal and we thought, okay, why not do something for the women who had just delivered a baby. And because I knew that so it all started with vitamin D levels of my mom. Okay,
Oh.
then I thought, okay, why? Like, what's the reason? And then okay, maybe because she has not taken care of herself because
Oh.
of me and my sister. And I knew a lot of other women doing the same thing, exactly same thing. Even it's like,
Hmm.
there's a gap of 20, 30 years, still it's the same. So we thought, okay, we should do some kind of workshop for the women who had just delivered a baby, like very small infants, 1 to 3 years, and
How
then
they take care of their health.
yes, exactly. That
Hmm.
how, like, we know that you have to take care of your child or your children, but how it is really important for you to take care of your own health as well.
Yeah.
So it became really personal to me because I've, like, throughout my life I've seen my mom and my sister do that. And so, ma'am, I have a like last 2 3 questions, but they are all related to your artistic side because I know you're an author, you're a
Creative
poet.
side.
So, like, just want to understand what, when you write something, what are you channelizing? Like, is there because what I have seen, especially for people who work a lot, there are a lot of emotions that are maybe not expressed in the workplace, and they are channelized through like, all these mediums, like writing a book or writing a poem or delivering a kind of session. So do you channelize some of your emotions, maybe that you're not really comfortable expressing, while, let's say, speaking to someone, or maybe at your workplace, and then you channelize it through the other mediums? Like,
I'm
what are
thinking while
basically
you're
what are
asking.
basically these mediums used for? Like, what are they for you?
So of course you need inspiration to write. Yeah, you always need some musings in order to write about something. I used to write even when I was a child, actually.
Wow.
I used to write my little poems in the back of my textbooks. I don't know. I mean, that textbook must be somewhere still there. And then, you get busy, in your career, you get married, you have children, and you forget all of those
As they
things.
say, it life happens.
Life happens. Yeah. Life happened to me and I got busy. But after some time, when I was little, stable, in terms of kids are not that small, they're going to school and I'm working on a reasonably level where it's not totally operational and too many hours involved. So I wanted to, I realized I've not written. I used to have this ability to write and express myself and say the things, which I felt very passionately about and strongly about. So I haven't done it for a while. So I think that's when I picked up my pen again and started writing. And I can only write, like you say, what you channelize, the things I feel very strongly about, I feel very passionately about. I can't just write if you tell me, hey, there's a contest going on, this is the subject, why don't you write a poem on that? I can't. I just cannot. Like, but if there is something which has really touched my heart, my soul, and that's what when I feel like writing about it and want to express myself. I've written about my corporate career also in that book. Especially, I've written poem as how to be a good leader, how to be a good mentor, how to be a good professional, how to be a good parent, about parenting, about women, gender equality. So, like I wrote a poem on one of the Women's Day that um, equal is not identical.
Wow.
So that was the title, because we always in this world we feel that if women have to be equal to men, they have to start doing the same things like men do,
Yes.
their
Yes.
behavioral things, their approach to life, and then the way they conduct themselves has to be same as that of men at work. Especially, corporate women think I can be equal if I start using the language they use,
Yes.
if I start maybe dressing up the way, or maybe I conduct myself in a particular way. No, it's not required. As women, we have to understand we bring a different set of strengths to the table, right? That's how the two nature has made two genders. More now, rather, we talk about more. So because you are expected to bring different things to the world, that's what makes the world whole, right? So you don't have to be identical. You have
That's
to bring
beautiful.
your reality, your strengths, and your ability to contribute your perspective to the world. And of course, you need to learn the other side of it. You can't say, I will only do what I do. I don't want to learn and expand my horizon and learning. That's not good.
There has
But
to be empathy.
you can't leave your core, right? And be unnatural to in your way.
Yes.
Then
Yes.
you would only be acting. You would not really put your heart and soul into it. So I think it's very important. So I wrote like that because I felt like that. So that's what makes me take up my creative side to de-stress myself from this little hard, overwhelming corporate world at times.
Some time ago I read a book, and it had a, like, the book is about very different things, but then there's this 19-year-old startup founder, Elizabeth Holmes.
I,
You know about
I've
her?
heard. It's still on
Okay.
my list. Yeah.
So the book is Bad Blood, and it ended in a very different way. But then what happened? She changed the pitch of her voice to make it more manly, so that she could do, like, pitch it to investors and everything. She raised even the term unicorn, the $1 billion startup. It was started after her startup became a $1 billion startup
Okay.
back in 2007, 2008. But then, just I was reading the book, she had to change the pitch of her voice so that she could be more like, it seems that she has more credibility.
Yeah.
She did it for that.
Yeah.
And I think you said it beautifully, that equality does not mean being identical.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important, because I see a lot of, especially women, trying to like, not that they want to, but then
They have to.
they have to.
We
They
don't
have
in
to.
this world give them a choice. We create a sort of a you can say a model of the ideal leader. Which
We
has
put them in boxes.
which always had those male kind of attributes to
Yes,
it.
yes.
So the initial ones who started to go to work, and especially in a workplace where there are more men than women, they always saw that as a model they have to fill into in order to be as effective as the earlier leaders were. So I don't think they did it because without realization, but at some stage they felt the pressure of that and they wanted to do it. But now that we have evolved, I think men also understand that the qualities and the attributes that women bring to a role are equally important. So we don't have to force them to fill our shoes. They've got their own shoes, they've got their own ways of working, styles of working, which has to be respected.
What we are trying to do through our podcast as well, as I told you,
Yeah.
raising the level of awareness. So even if you see the tagline, it's all raising the level of awareness in the youth, so that they can navigate through their personal and professional lives effectively.
Absolutely.
But then it all starts with when you make them more aware.
Winning doesn't mean defeating the world for once. Winning means triumphing over the quest in the true sense. It's not about living each day as it comes. Winning is about having the guts to take a chance. Winning is about not giving in without trying. Winning is about rising above the circumstance. Winning is not about conquering always. Winning is about taking the right stance. Winning is not outwitting always. It's about being revered for one's viewpoint. Winning is not convincing always. It's also about getting convinced and vanquishing ignorance. Winning is not about battering the frail. It's about reaching out, empowering till they are strong. Winning is not leaving others behind. It's about taking everyone along. Winning is not about winning is about making a choice to win. Winning is about making a choice to win. Each battle for right, to salvage from wrong, to make a better world, to create a better universe. Winning is about evolving and pursuing excellence.
Beautiful. Wow.
So I think that is what I will read out to them.
I think that's a beautiful note to end our conversation with.
Thank you.
But ma'am, thank you so much for being on the show. We really loved this conversation. And what our purpose is, what our vision is to raise the level of awareness. I think this conversation actually, serves the purpose. So thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. You've been doing an amazing job. And I just love the conversation. Thank you.
No, I personally really enjoyed it, and even I did not realize we have spent so much time talking. But I really had a great time with you. Thank you so much for making this very, very meaningful conversation, asking the right questions which are relevant for today. Take me through my memory lane. Thank you. Thank you.